All right, welcome back to the Breakwaters podcast. Got special guest Brandon Ross. How you doing?
I'm doing well, George. How are you?
You want to tell everybody about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm 22, graduated from Syracuse a little over a year ago. I work as a play-by-play broadcaster for colleges around the tri-state, primarily Marist. I do their lacrosse, their soccer, and their volleyball on ESPN Plus and ESPN3. I also worked for the Premier Hockey Federation, the Premier Women's Hockey League in North America, and I also do a bunch of other things that ever come up.
Yeah, but you weren't always a sports guy. I hear you on the Citrus News from 2017. How's that? How's your experience?
Wow, going deep into the background. Yeah, no, when I was at Syracuse, I threw myself into a little bit of everything because when you're working in media, that's pretty much essential that you get everything in order in terms of getting the experience and everything, because you never know what might interest you. And news was definitely interesting to me. I did a lot, probably at Citrus, which is the student TV station at Syracuse. I did more news than sports, but that helped prepare me pretty well for making the transition to TV once I got out of college in the sports realm.
Of course, yeah. Like my dad says, you got to be well-rounded. It can't be all about the sports. You got to have balance life. So that's great what you did. It's always good to do that. All right. So after that, you went to one of my favorite sports here. You did the play-by-play for Burlington Royals. That must have been pretty cool. 2019. How was that?
It was a lot of fun. Not many people get the opportunity to do affiliated minor league baseball when they're still in college. And at the time I was still 20, there would be end of homestands where, we'd get together and relax after a homestand, and they couldn't give me any beer because I was under 21. But
Man.
I had a lot of fun with it. It was definitely a unique experience to get the feel for what professional baseball was like, and being around the players' age, that definitely helped in terms of being able to relate and get more information. And it was really a good crash course on how to handle the uh, really brutal schedule of a long baseball season.
You went to Onduga Flames 2018. And that's one of the teams here. How was that?
That was the first taste I actually really got of play-by-play, because at a lot of schools you go to, even some of the better media schools, you get to jump in right away and do some play-by-play, whereas at Syracuse you really have to work your way up. So I didn't really do any play-by-play before then, but I had the opportunity to stay in Syracuse over the summer, take a few classes, and also get my feet wet and doing some baseball. And I got familiar with how to do baseball play-by-play, which, unlike any other sport, it's a lot more time to fill. It's a lot more knowledge you need to have. It's a lot more pacing. It's a lot more space, less action. And I was able to figure out that balance. And in the long run, even though it was a league filled with mostly Division III, Division II players and some younger local D1 guys, one of the players on our team was Nick Garcia, who, even though he's at D3 Chapman, I would talk with the manager sometimes behind closed doors. And he said, I'll tell you what, because he was a two-way player on that team, but he was pumping 90 on the mound. And the coach was saying, if he just put the bat down, he'll get drafted. That fall, he put the bat down. 2 years later, he was a third-round pick of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
So you got another team, Finn's TV play-by-play. Before we go to Syracuse, gotta talk about all the other ones. I know you did a lot in Syracuse. This is the last one. We got the Finn's TV play. How was that?
Well, so that was still when I was at Syracuse. And one thing that was great that they did there was, in order to get some of us experience doing sort of TV play-by-play, it's video streaming. But that was for Lemoyne College, which is a D2 school in Syracuse. So I did play-by-play for some of their women's basketball. I did a baseball game on 10 hours notice. I did some soccer, some lacrosse. It allowed me to get my feet wet in a lot of sports that I would have not otherwise done. And it really instilled in me the importance of being able to learn all these different sports. And volleyball, lest I forget that I did volleyball there as well.
All right, let's go to Syracuse, your alma mater here. The football beat writer from 2015, 2020. You're like Tom Verducci of the Syracuse football. How's that?
I would definitely not put myself on the pedestal of Tom Verducci, that's for sure. But That was, you go to that was writing for the SB Nation site for Syracuse. Troy Nunes is an absolute magician. And that was really my first foray into sports media of any kind. That was, midway through high school, actually. And I didn't have a lot of things occupying my time between preparing for baseball seasons, which would eventually lead to disappointing play and eventually not being able to play at the next level, which, I always hope to do, but eventually everyone hits that point where they realize this might not be the future for me. But I started writing mostly football recruiting type of stories, some basketball stuff. And then when I got back to Syracuse as a student, they let me be the football beat writer for a couple of seasons, which was amazing experience to just get familiar with the team. I was able to get deep enough to know it like the back of my hand. And once eventually I kind of came to the realization that the play-by-play route was where I wanted to go, then once football season came around my senior year and I got to call some of the games, that helped me be really prepared and know everything very well going in.
I see right here. You guys went to the ACC network for you're like an extra for Syracuse sports when you were there. It was pretty cool.
It's definitely a unique experience that Syracuse offers. I didn't get to do too much of it as opposed to some others because due to COVID, my senior year, there were not as many broadcasts to be a part of, but I still got to be a part of a lot of them. And I got some incredible experience working on productions that, are the same productions coming out of the same rooms with the same staff of any game that would air on ACC Network linear. So it was still digital streaming, but I got to do some of the non-revenue sports. I got to work on some women's basketball broadcasts, both in studio and on the broadcast itself, and get the feel of what it's like to be a part of a high-level production.
And now you got the Bridgeport Islanders. You're a public address announcer. My friends, they don't really like hockey. Hockey's one of my favorite sports. I tried to get them out to the Islanders playoff games. They have a summer house in Long Island. I was like, it's the last time I've seen NASA. Gotta go. They're like, no, we can't go. But I always had hockey was always one of my favorite sports growing up, and it's just pretty cool. Public address announcer for Bridgeport Islanders.
You know what? That kind of came up out of nowhere. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't do much of any public address announcing. I filled in a couple of times during that Onondaga Flames internship after my freshman year doing the PA, but I hadn't really done much of it. But when I saw the opening come up, and at the moment I'm looking for a lot more work, I think to myself, well, that's 25 minutes on 95 heading north. It might not be the sport I'm most familiar with, but I'm sure public address announcing would be fun. So I auditioned, and much to my surprise, I got it. And in large reason because of that, I've become much more of a hockey fan than I was when I was growing up, because you get to watch that level of hockey. And when you're doing PA for hockey, as opposed to, say, basketball, when you're constantly announcing who hits a three, who the foul is on, who's subbing, who calls a timeout, hockey, you can kind of just relax and watch. And then you announce penalties and goals, end of the period, promo reads in between. And I've really gotten to enjoy the experience with what really is a fantastic organization in the Islanders. And it really does serve me well that I wasn't a hockey fan growing up, so I don't have any particular New York allegiance that would really cause me any conflict.
For sure. So you're an Islander fan now? Is that what it is?
You know what? I don't necessarily have a strict fandom. I have teams I follow. I follow the Islanders. I follow the Rangers. And I follow the Sharks because, funny enough, one of my roommates from college, his stepbrother just made the roster this year. He's, I believe, a fourth line center, Jasper Weatherby.
Nice. That's awesome. You gotta tell him. You gotta tell your friend. You gotta give me some free gear, man. You gotta tell him.
I mean, he doesn't even get free gear, so I'm not sure that's heading my way.
Yeah. It's another one. Their position you still at, the freelance college play-by-play broadcast for basketball, soccer. And also you're another sports. So you're like all over basketball, soccer, baseball. So it's good. You're well-rounded.
Yeah, you have to be ready to do whatever sport they throw your way. Whether it's the best job you can do. I mean, you always want to do the best job you can do. But I think one thing that has helped me get more opportunities and allow me to be a little more successful is maybe being willing to be uncomfortable. I've done a wrestling broadcast. In my mind, it went terribly. But I now have that experience. If I ever get to do it again, I know what to do better. I was working with a color commentator who knew the sport pretty well, and he could definitely tell I was choppy at the beginning, but by the end, I was getting more of the hang of it. I was recognizing what things were important to relay to a TV audience. And now I have that experience going forward. I've done sailing, I've done ice hockey, I've done field hockey, soccer, volleyball. I've done diving, though I'm not sure that's necessarily coming up in my future again. But at the end of the day, being versatile is important, and being willing to take on challenges that might not feel comfortable is essential.
So yeah, Marist College, where it's your mainstay right here. You're on ESPN a lot, do the volleyball, lacrosse, soccer. How's that going?
It's going great. When I was coming out of school, I graduated a semester early in December of 2020. I kind of made it my mission. I had some other offers to go other places, but I felt like I had trusted myself to the point where I could try to get some opportunities closer to home. And so I sent some cold emails. Not all of them were responded to. I got a lot of no's, but Marist said maybe. And so I pried them again. And eventually they needed someone to fill in on a lacrosse broadcast. That led to another lacrosse broadcast, and then another. Then I did color for water polo even. But that's led to me taking on an even bigger role with the school, where I am now set to do all their lacrosse broadcasts this spring. I did the lion's share of their soccer and volleyball broadcast this past fall. I even got to fill in on a football road radio broadcast, as well as a road women's basketball broadcast as well. So I've gotten to do more of the mainstream sports by doing the sports that maybe people coming out of school don't necessarily think, oh yeah, I'm clamoring to do volleyball, I'm clamoring to do soccer. And even doing those sports in and of themselves have opened up way more doors.
Of course, yeah, doing like the harder sports, the sports that people don't really know, makes you a better person, makes you a better commentator, makes you know the game more. And I could definitely relate to that for sure.
Maybe I don't know everything about track and field, but when eventually I have to do track and fields, I know who to contact.
Yeah, of course, no doubt. So do you have any advice? I know my friend Vincent, he wants to be a commentator. Do you have any advice for him?
Always be prepared. You never know when an opportunity is going to come your way. You never know what it will be, but you've got to take it in stride and run with it. Early on, try your best to never say no to an opportunity, and always prepare. I brought a sample of what a broadcast chart looks like. So this was for a women's soccer game I did for Marist. This is one game worth of information. Got the rosters, all the players that don't necessarily play. I organize them down here. Got stats over here, bio information. And even then, on top of that, I have a team sheet with more storylines, team stats, their schedules, and more of the like. And talking to coaches is important. Just on the net, be ready for anything. Be willing to do whatever comes your way, and always carry a positive attitude and be a good person, because I can assure you that I have gotten a lot further from being kind to the people I work with than from the actual quality of my work.
Of course, yeah, like you always got to be respectful to everyone. Like you always got to show respect to the people that's what I brought up with. So definitely, that's a good point. All right, let's go to everyone's favorite round, the quick fire round. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, favorite commercial.
Commercial. Oh boy. I guess it's a little more relevant because it's the football playoffs. The first one that comes to mind is the discount double check ads, or just the State Farm commercials. They always have an ability to make me laugh. So I'm going to go with that.
Of course, yeah. It's my guy, Aaron Rodgers. What about favorite athlete of all time?
Derek Jeter. Grew up a Yankees fan. He will always be my idol.
Yankee fan like myself. So what other sports do you like? What are other teams? Yankees. So what are the other sports?
Yankees. I grew up a Knicks fan early, but they kind of lost my support over time just because it was a lot harder to watch them. But my biggest fandoms over time have been the Yankees, the Giants, and even well before I went to Syracuse, I was born and raised a Syracuse fan. So I'm a fan of their football, their basketball, both men and women's, and now having gone there and learned to appreciate the sport, lacrosse as well.
A favorite team out of all of them? You have to pick one.
If I have to pick one, it's the Yankees. They're my first love.
Nice, nice. It's awesome. Favorite TV show?
Favorite TV shows of all time is probably The West Wing.
Favorite movie?
The Departed.
Favorite ice cream topping?
I would say probably chocolate chips.
Nice. Now, coffee or tea in the morning?
If I can go with neither, I will prefer neither, but coffee. I try not to caffeinate myself as much because if I get into a habit of having too many cups of coffee in a given day, the day where I can't sneak in my coffee, I become a lot more of a mess. But definitely iced coffee is the way to go for me.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Favorite color?
Navy blue.
Nice. Same. All right, we're going to wrap it off with everybody's favorite question. Who's your celebrity crush?
Oh, boy. Are we talking current or, long time?
You give me all time.
Emma Watson.
Nice. So anything to wrap off with? Is wrapping off the show, anything you want to say?
Yeah, if anyone's interested in going the play-by-play route and wants any advice that I didn't dispense here or would like any feedback, my email address is Brandon Jared Ross, Brandon, Jared like the jewelry store, ROSS @gmail.com. You can email me with any questions or ask for any advice that you want. Send me tape. I'd be happy to listen. And don't give up. It's hard. It can be a brutal industry, but just keep grinding. And if you have the passion, you keep your head up, you'll make it.
Sure. Do you have any social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter?
Instagram, I keep private, but my Twitter is at Brandon Ross 99 the year I was born. Same spelling as first and last name.
Everything's going to be in the description. Brandon's email, his Twitter. Make sure you give him a follow. If you have any questions, email him. That's pretty much it. I'll see you in a splash.